Hello, 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 good people, and welcome to Happy Healthy Whole with Sharia. Today is Wednesday Wisdom, and this is where I talk about small business, specifically related to service industries. But for me, I talk it from the perspective of either a therapy hat and therapy practice and or consulting practice and the blend of the two together, and also how important it is as service providers to do our good work and have impact while also taking care of our businesses. So on that note, let's get started because I want to today to focus specifically on the legal, or excuse me, some of the essential steps to setting up a private practice. As a therapist, this was where I started. Obviously, part of what I do is specialize in helping people to start and grow their businesses. And so essentially starting your practice from scratch and then growing it into um, practices that can have multiple streams of income so that you cannot be burnt out. And so what I think are three essentials that you would need to know. Again, also, if you're here, I do see my chat this time. Last time I was all over the place with it. If you're here, please like and subscribe, but I'll also be checking the chat for any questions or any comments that you want to make around the areas of the three essential areas that it takes for you to start a private practice. The first one is the stuff that we don't all like to do, but we got to get it done, which is the legal and financial setup. You want to obtain your proper license, right? So many times, depending on what state you're in and city that you're in, you need to think about the state and structure of your business is one thing, but you need to know how you legally can operate in that area that you're going to operate, be it a license for the city or a business registration for the city, and or if it's state, city, and federal, and we'll talk about business structure in a second. So you want to obtain those licenses, but you also want to make sure that your own professional license is specific to the field in which you're going to actually be promoting your business as. So if you're, for example, you're a licensed social worker and not a licensed clinical social worker, what you can do related to a private practice is very different because you should not be seeing clients with insurance and or without clinical support. So knowing within your state rules, what is your legal obligations to operate with your professional licenses, as well as the city, state, and county licenses that might be within your area. So that's going to be my first thing. Have the proper license. Don't do something out of order and then get in trouble and lose your opportunity to grow and to build. And believe me, it may seem simple to just kind of go ahead and start where you are, but you want to make sure we're starting where you are. It doesn't present as a business where you should be licensed as a fully licensed therapist, or as if you're going to do coaching, it needs to be that's the specific area that you're working in and not doing mental health therapy. So knowing the licenses and then knowing the requirements of your area licenses for business registration is going to be my first thing. The next thing you're going to do is think about securing insurance. So professional liability insurance is vital to protect yourself from potential legal claims, from business, for claims against your practice as a therapist in the field. Making sure that you have your professional liability license is going to be a must. Here's a secret. To me, even if you're not going to have a practice, not going to work for yourself, you should still have your own professional liability insurance, because when we think about organizations or places that we may work, the primary insurance that they have is going to be general and or business insurance. And we're going to talk about that in a second for our own practice. And that's going to include you, but it does not specifically share or hold your license requirements. And so you need to have your own professional liability insurance so that you can cover yourself on top of them covering you. That's my opinion in regardless of if you're doing private practice or not. However, the next thing you're going to need for a private practice is business insurance. It might not be necessary for practicing in certain spaces, but I would say for the purpose of developing and growing your business, get used to understanding that you will need different types of business insurance. Specifically, I'm talking about therapy right now, but if I talk specifically about my consultation and my consulting programs that I work with, because of their federal funding, because of their different types of government fundings and agencies that I might work with, I then have to have a certain level of not just general insurance, but also professional insurance for those licensed under our practice. So for example, we have LPCs, we have LACs, we have LCSWs. And so I have to have business insurance that also covers those, as well as enough for it to cover offenses that my staff may make on behalf of our business. And so understanding that even in the beginning of a small private practice, you may not need as much business insurance that you would need, say, once you start going into servicing outside of your private practice. You still want to start getting used to having at least general liability insurance, depending on if you're in home in a space that is yours, or if you're doing virtual or not. You want to make sure that you're covering your business. So let's just think, if I'm not doing it now, do I eventually need to do it later? It can be something you grow into. The next thing you want to do is establish a business structure. Decide whether you're going to operate as a sole proprietor, or if you're going to LLC or another business entity. So consulting, say an accountant or a lawyer would be the most helpful to find out what the best option is for what you intend now, but also in terms of growth. So for example, I started as an LLC and was later recommended by my accountant to move to an S Corp because of the business growth. And so it has helped related to taxes and different things that were not in place as my LLC. However, there's also some pros and cons to both, which I'm not going to get into because I'm just doing the essentials of what you need to know. But there's some pros and cons to both, and understanding those things can help you as a private practice to determine what your next place will be in terms of growth. But in that case, I definitely recommend talking to a lawyer or an accountant as the primary to kind of help you to navigate or to decide on what is the best route to take for your business. The next thing, number 2, so that was number 1, just kind of getting the legal and financial setup for the business. The next thing you're going to think about is finding the right location. Evaluating client accessibility becomes one of my major priorities, and making sure that your location is easy to reach by transportation and accessible to all who are able to come to the practice if you're doing a physical location. And sometimes things like ample parking, having the availability on a bus route, all of those things can help your client to get to you depending on the type of clientele that you're trying to reach, right? But knowing these area things about the location are going to help to make sure when you're marketing, you're able to market clearly your full picture of what the client may get when they come to your facility. The next thing is consider comfort and aesthetics, like thinking about the environment should be both professional and welcoming. So for me, that is about creating a calming decor that allows for people to feel comfort and ease, but at the same time, a vibrant expression of culture and experience. And so when you walk into our office in one office, the other office is different because it's a training space. So for the one office, there's blue walls with a beautifully full colored picture of a woman with hair that is full and cultured, a woman of color who's cultured with very different colors in terms of the spectrum of the painting, but it's so welcoming as you first walk in. And then as you go through the different rooms, they all have different expressions of decors that are about relaxation, but also expression of self. And so those are important for our specific practice, but also our specific niche. The next thing is balance cost and need. While we're thinking about or maintaining offices, sometimes that can be costly. And when you first start off, you might think about things like virtual only. However, if you know that your clientele or in your location, there is a need for more of a hybrid where you're in office and then not in office some days, that might be something you think about creating for your specific clients. So while we have a dedicated space, our space is also very private, as well as each space has private sound, the sound machines. So that way, when you are speaking to your therapist, we're not all able to hear it. And then we also make sure that even in our home settings, that we are in areas that are considered away from everyone else. The noise control is about keeping privacy in place with confidentiality. And then there's certain requirements that our therapists have to have related to their computer and all those different things. So making sure that you're setting up that environment, but also keeping a balance between cost and need, right? So being budget friendly on things like where you get your sofa from, right? So you may not be able to afford the luxury sofa, but you want to find something that is still comfortable and full. And then you go to a place that is the outlet store. So for us, we use Raymore and Flanagan outlet, and we were able to find very sturdy, but yet affordable sofas for our different therapy offices. So that's just an example of finding a space or creating a space with a good small budget, but also knowing that our environment is there for the fact that we're hybrid. So we have 2 days in office and the rest are virtual. So thinking about those type of things in terms of finding your location, but creating the environment. And so I'm not going to get too much into the telehealth and the virtual perspective of making sure your settings are ready for you to truly work at home. But I think it's really important as you're starting a practice or having a private practice to make sure that you have a dedicated space that does not have traffic and or a violation of your client's privacy. Those are just some of the simplest tips that I can think of related to that. The last thing with our essential marketing tools that you really should consider or think about when you're starting a private practice is marketing. Whether we like it or not, whether you're an introvert, like I am somewhere in between an introvert and an extrovert, so I'm learning to deal with that, but I feel more like an introvert most times. And so marketing is one of those things where you have to make sure that you're able to create the experience for your client. So building a website, an online presence, and your client journey becomes extremely important with marketing, right? How do they get connected to you? Creating a professional website that showcases your services, your credentials, your contact information. And all of this can be done in a one pager if that's all you need to be able to get through to them to get to your contact with you to get services from you. So utilizing social media to connect with potential clients is also something that becomes extremely important related to your presence, but doing it in a way that's authentic to you and authentic to your expression of how you serve others in the field. Network with other professionals, establish relationships with other therapists, doctors, and professionals who can refer clients to you. It's always going to be helpful. I can remember when I first started my practice, now that's 9 years ago, I did a open house in connection to a holistic doctor and a masseuse who were all in the local area. And we did a open house at my practice. And now as a result, we are ongoing referrals to one another. But in that moment, it created a clientele for me that I hadn't reached yet because their clients, my clients came throughout the day to kind of see what the other services were. And what happened was it gave me an influx of clients. And we specifically these three different individuals all took the same insurance. So it was just the perfect combination of networking, marketing, and collaborating together to create a open house that benefits the community and clients, but also benefit us to get additional referrals. And I know for me personally, I walked away with several referrals for therapy. And at the time I was a solo practitioner. So it was just myself. And I was able to fill my caseload. And so really, I really, really believe in networking with other professionals. And the same is true with other therapists in terms of having an additional referral. So for example, I will refer off of our waiting list to local therapists that I know and or therapists that used to work with me who now own their own practices. So offering that ability to connect and be a part of a community of professionals is always going to help your business and your practice grow. The last thing is offering introductory promotions. Now, I personally don't do this. However, I do know some people who do. I no longer do free consultations. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. However, in the beginning of my practice, and my therapist still do, I actually don't do it because of the type of work that I do, mostly around coaching and leadership coaching, as well as consultation. And so usually for me, if I'm taking on therapy clients, because of my rate, I'm just going to go right into, here's what I do. If you want it, come and see me if I can, right? But I really am not taking clients. That's a whole nother story again. Anyway, so offering that introductory thing like a free consultation or a discount to attract clients is a possibility. I stay on the side of free consultation, making it 15 to 30 minutes at the least. At the most, excuse me, and making sure that it's allowed for them to talk through some of the things they want to work on, while also seeing if they match up or are comfortable with working with you. And so I do believe that this can help to be a successful way of getting clients and keeping clients long term. So making sure that you are giving your client that marketing experience, but also that connection to if you are the right therapist for them. So let me go over those 3 essential steps to setting up your private practice. Again, remember your legal and financial setup. So your licenses, your insurance, and then your business structure. Finding the right location, be it hybrid in terms of a physical location, making sure it's accessible by both transportation as well as parking. Considering the decor and the ambiance of the whole place, and making sure that it feels good for clients to come through. And then making sure that you are doing your marketing, getting out there, networking, creating an easy path for your clients to get to you, and doing what you need to do to get the connection and for them to see if you're the right therapist and they're the right fit for you. I hope that was helpful for some quick areas to think about related to starting your practice. As you know, I am doing these live every Wednesday. If there's topics that you are interested in related to starting a practice, maintaining self-care as you're a business owner and or growing your practice, please feel free to, in the comments, share the question and I'll see if I can do an actual live on it. All right, y'all, take good care of yourselves and I will see you next Wednesday. Be well.